Welcome to BTI, that's Bible Training Institute. We open the scriptures every week, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little. Study with us and learn how to know God as a close, intimate, and personal friend, and learn what is soon to come upon this world.
Music and the mark of the beast. What is the relationship? And this is even before telling me what, because I'm going to ask the next question. My next question is going to be, I'm going to tell you my next question. My next question is going to be, what is the mark of the beast in music? But that's not my question. Music and mark of the beast are both parts of worship. They're both parts of worship. Now, you said to me, my sister, and I don't disagree with you, but you said to me that patriarchs and prophets said that music is a part of worship. And I agree wholly with that. But you know what I must ask?
Where is it in the Bible?
Where is that in the Bible? Not because I disagree, but because everything the prophet says, what? Now see, when you do that, guess what happens? So the prophet says there's going to be a certain type of music that comes into the Seventh Adventist church just before the close of probation. And what's happening in the world just before the close of probation? The image of the beast. So then, if I see this music, I know that the image of the beast is nearly set up. Are we together? Yes. Is that true in Daniel chapter 3? Yes. It is. And so, my brother and sister, God is trying to show us this from that very nature. Now, we saw the history. When we look at those things which have been in the past will be in the future. Satan will make music a snare or a trap by the way in which it is conducted. So we looked at that. And we saw this worldwide worship of the beast, his image. We looked at this and we saw it's going to be repeated in Revelation chapter 13. The devil has all the best tunes. Is that true? No, that's not true. But this is what the world of music says, that people have said this. Now, when they talked about this, they were talking particularly about what type of music. It was called the devil's music. They're talking about what? Talk to me. Jazz. Jazz is called the foundation of the devil's music in contemporary times. Why? It was Seventh Adventist churches. So for this to be a sign the probation is about to close is not that we would just see jazz music in the world, but we would have to see jazz music take over Christian music and then enter into Seventh Adventist churches and become the main music of the Seventh Adventist church. Then we're just before the image of the beast. Do you know that was not so in the 70s? In the 60s, no church that was called Christian accepted this music. It was called the devil's music, even in the Baptist church and all the other churches. And it wasn't until the 70s with the so-called Jesus movement that all of a sudden, after the hippies and Woodstock and so forth, then it came into the Christian churches and developed what was called CCM. What is that? Contemporary Christian music. That's the foundation of it. And it came into others' music as so-called gospel music by Thomas Dorsey. So we saw both of those, but it was the same foundation, which was this jazz, and it entered the Christian churches, but still not the Seventh Adventist church. In the 80s, do you know this music was still condemned largely in the Seventh Adventist church in the 1980s? Yes. But in the late 80s, early 90s, it began to change. And then we began to start seeing coming to the church praise teams. And they started throwing down hymnals and choruses began to start happening. You saw people, just kind of putting on tights and waving their hands, and they were doing whatever they were doing. And so this was coming in. People started singing and swinging and celebrating, and it started taking over our churches in the late 80s and early 90s. And some of you will remember that. If you were, that were younger will remember that. Everybody went to sign. All the little girls, I remember when I'm like, what is this? The beat was to be heard internally in the music. The beat does something to give it life. And a correct beat gives music life, but not so that the beat can be heard, but its influence on the music can be present. Wow. But we do the opposite. We allow the beat to be heard on the outside. And so we get instruments and think that they're rhythmatic because we hear the beat of the instrument, but it was never the way God intended. The eardrum. Do you ever hear the eardrum? But the eardrums helps you to hear. So God's drums and God's beats are never heard outwardly, but they do something to control sound. Now, do you know they have found that when you have harmonious music, that it has developed the mind? Some people, it's not classical music that does it. It's the fact that in classical music, there are many harmonies that are happening. And so as the harmony is happening, the brain, as it begins to decipher the different harmonies, as it's listening to it, is being exercised. And so as it's been exercised, it strengthens. And so this harmonious music has the ability to strengthen, science has proved, has the ability to strengthen mental development. And so we can see this. Now, I want to ask a question though. If this is the nature of man, when God deals with us, because we can look at this and we're going to find, as we study from the Bible, when God deals with us, what does God want to deal, what does the devil want to deal with most? When the devil deals with us? How do you know? The devil wants to deal with our body. He wants our body to control our mind. Am I right? Oh, wretched man that I am, who can deliver me from the body of this death? The body controlling the mind. So he wants the body to control the spirituality in the mind. What does God want to work with the most? He wants the spirituality. But he cannot get to our spirituality without getting to our... So what are the two parts that God is more interested in? The mental and the spiritual.
If you were blessed by this study and would like to be a part of the BTI, that's Bible Training Institute, simply have your Bible pen and paper handy and check out our weekly studies by logging on to molministry.com/BTI. Also, tune in every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the latest. Maranatha.